I'd like to call to order the April 23rd, 2025 Council Conservation meeting at 7:01 p.m. Can I have a roll call, please, starting with
Mike Potsett,
James Gates,
Kevin Smith.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being recorded. Is anyone else recording? Chairman's additions and or deletions. I don't have anything right for me. No. Okay. Chair report, anything I have will be covered in the agent's report. 1.6 review approved meeting minutes. Colby, these look better. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, did you have a what?
Yeah, we need some corrections on Johnny's lot, right? See, it's been made. A little clarification there.
So it was.
That's good.
Okay. That's what I read. So.
Thank you, Colby. I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
What?
You want me to make a motion to approve the minutes of the
Did
meeting?
Mike have a chance to read?
yeah, but the very last page. JD says he can no longer do this. Resignation.
You can't resign without a formal letter.
Okay. Well, that's tomorrow.
What?
JD says he can no longer do this. The 25th is his resignation day.
There's no letter, so.
We don't have a letter. I can't accept his resignation without a letter.
Yeah.
He's grumpy.
Well,
I hope he's listening to this. He might be on cable.
I'm all set.
All right. Go ahead, Kevin. You want to?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of February 19th, 2025.
Second.
Roll call vote. Starting with Mike.
Mike Potsett, yes.
James Gates, yes.
Kevin Smith, yes.
And then there was the other one. Or, do you have the other one, Mike?
The other one?
Or two? Were they the same date? So those,
Yeah, it was just one.
okay, just one, okay. I'll
The
take it back.
19th meeting.
Still on track, but.
That's fine. All right. 1.7 agent report. One of the things that I saw in one of the past summaries was the agent report was added like in writing, which is probably a copy and paste thing for you, right?
I just have to type it out. I keep it in here.
Okay.
Yes,
I would keep it typed as a log.
I've been meaning to.
if you don't mind inserting it.
Nope.
And then it's on record, it's on record.
Yeah.
Because we go by the minutes.
Here, we come back there. All right, agents report, some budget issues. We paid for, our invoices, we paid for 2 courses through MACC and a conference. That was totaling, these were totaling, $280. I want to start right off by saying we do have 2 open positions on the Conservation Commission. If you're interested, you can email me at cstreeter@townsendma.gov. Need people. What I've been doing, it's really boring. I've been doing a lot of data entry. Our files have been kind of scattered throughout several folders and a couple drives. So I've been consolidating all the indexing information for RDAs, NOIs, OCs into one spreadsheet. And the good part about that is that everything will be in one spot. It can be sorted and filtered. Thereby we can figure out, we can find our RDAs and OCs really easy, as well as you can tell what discrepancies there are. Yeah, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm finding out what open OOCs there are, what expired OOCs, and those that need COCs, certificates of compliance, and order of conditions. If you know. All right.
That's great.
Yeah, it should be a lot easier. I spend a lot of time just searching for information. Just because there's been a lot of conservation agents, everyone had their own way of doing things, and it's messy. Not to no blame of their own. It's kind of a busy job. Anyway, site visits. I did several site visits. One to Deadly Meadows, examined the survey work there and the condition of the property. They did a really good survey job. So all the stakes are easy to find and visible. Pins are where they should be. There is some pretty large areas of encroachment. We're gonna have to deal with those. Recording them, pictures have been taken, but that's gonna be more down the road. 56 Bayberry Hill Road, stopped in there. That's the amended OOC that we just had a hearing on, and that's looking good. So fence is up and doing what it should. 66 Bayberry Hill Road. That's a property that has a 2-house plan on it, and we went up there, Beth Faxon and I, to check the stormwater permit. There's no stormwater controls whatsoever, and there was siltation of into the wetland crossing there where there's a culvert. And I sent out a letter to the applicant.
There was also a failed silt fence.
Yeah, failed silt fence, and that's part of the culvert. It just it's kind of done incorrectly, inadequate. All the fill from the crossing there was just going right into the stream because the silt fence, instead of going to the culvert, just went right across the stream, right at the end of the culvert, silting in. So a letter was sent out. I just stopped by the railroad trestle at Squanicook Greenways. Again, they had to be contacted as well because they were not following the OOC because they were not didn't place tarps underneath the railroad trestle as they dismantled it. So they received an email and they were told to do it better. Let's see, what else? I stopped by One Depot Extension to check the stormwater there, so that the infiltration trench has been dug, and I actually saw it in a rainstorm, so no problems there. it. That's all I got.
Well, you've been busy.
So the stormwater associated with 66 Bayberry, that should have went out through planning board and not our letterhead, because I know you're the agent, but it doesn't fall under our jurisdiction.
It's a minor stormwater permit, which is the conservation agent's.
No, I know it's because you're the stormwater agent, but it probably should have been on planning board's letterhead. I know that there was OOC.
On their letterhead.
Yeah,
I
not on
understand.
conservation's letter. I know there was OOC infractions.
Yeah,
And you have to, but,
I'm sure we'll be dealing with it.
okay. Yeah, she's Beth, the planning board assistant, she's been helping me with the stormwater permits, for the time being. Getting me, spun up on it,
Mhm.
so,
Great.
but, okay, yeah,
just so that it's.
She's pretty thorough.
yeah,
Because every time I talk about stormwater, I get yelled at, so.
okay. Okay, still addressed as conservation agent?
You can address, well, sign it as, that'd be storm, because your job title is,
Stormwater agent in that respect, huh, yeah, I can do that,
so,
okay.
and I know that,
Yeah, you'd be signing it. The letter would be coming from the planning board. You'd be signing it as the stormwater agent for the town.
All right, that makes sense.
and then it's cut and dry.
Yeah.
And then, so I know with the trestle construction, you had also called Bill, with 66 Bayberry. I know you sent a certified letter, but a phone call to them, it goes a long way in
Okay.
any, not just that situation, but all of them.
Yeah.
I know the certified letter is, you have to, because it has to be recorded, but a phone call for anyone.
Ahead of time, you know, is just well, I think it's a courtesy to the contractor. That he's not being bombarded with a certified letter. He's getting it. It's coming. It has to be delivered to them, but I don't know. That's just my take on it.
Well,
We've dealt with it. Because I've dealt with it on the other side of the fence, sitting on wearing my other hat. So,
yeah,
you
it's
know,
nice to get a phone call and say,
Yeah.
hey,
hey, got a problem.
Understood, yeah, I certainly was, I used language that wasn't,
but that letter to the rail trail people, that was nuts, that email.
oh,
I meant to actually, I just tried calling you, but you were out or gone for the day.
For a compliment.
That was a well worded.
Yeah.
Well
Fine
documented
job.
email, like,
I guess
That
there
was
was a
nice.
distinction there, because I know that the contractor there is kind of a past offender too.
which one?
Violation,
For the rail trail or the,
no, sorry, for 66 Bayberry.
oh, yeah, but no,
I still wasn't,
no contractor wants, there's no.
they're big boys.
That's why I like a
But
phone.
that's why a phone
That's why a
call.
phone call goes a long way. You know, they know they're gonna get a letter in that particular case. You know, my cousin.
Yeah.
So,
Understood.
No, wouldn't you like a phone call?
you know, you're gonna get a kick in the butt.
Sure.
Yeah, I hear
Hey,
you.
there's a kick in the butt in the mail for you.
Coming.
Yeah, yeah, I can still make a phone call too, because it wasn't that long ago. so.
Right. In that letter, the time frame it takes to get a letter, because I've received stuff from the town certified, and it takes like a week. Especially if you miss it,
Mhm. Yeah.
so
All right,
nothing wrong with it, but that email to the rail trail was nice.
I was proud of that.
So thank you for being on top of all those, and
No problem.
Pat did not join us, did she? At this point.
oh yeah, so we have to get the Boy Scouts to put up the bounds.
Move her forward, so I gotta get.
Yeah, so Pat hasn't joined us yet. I'm not gonna, That's fair.
Well, Pat is here.
Hi, Pat.
No, she's not on.
No, she's here, but
Yeah, she's not, she ain't woke up. Oh, can't get it.
It's muted.
She muted. There she is. Hi, Pat. Someone's trying to get her set up.
Earthquake. There we go.
Hi, Pat.
Oh, can't hear you.
I'm muted.
Well, Pat's getting on, Colby, 3.1 is monthly, accounting report.
Sure.
Is there anything on here that is,
Nothing out of the ordinary. Just wanted to make you aware where the money is for conservation commission, what it's been spent on. Salary, that's not that much.
we can acknowledge that. We
We
appreciate
can,
what you do.
yeah. We thank you for everything you do, Colby.
That was a joke, Nelson.
Gotcha. Gotcha, buddy.
All right, cool. I'm not gonna go through every little bit of it,
No debts.
No debts?
Need arrears.
do you know what, have you worked on the proposed budget at all? Is there anything that we need to be aware of before the
Yeah,
special meeting?
I can cover that a little bit. Yeah, we had to make some, budget cuts.
Like what?
They're minor, because our budget is kind of low as it is. but
Minor.
office budget, but-
Testing.
We hear you.
Hi, Pat.
Hi, sorry about that.
Don't worry about it.
Real quick, in professional services.
I'll explain later.
A little bit.
For those being two.
I think there's one more I'm forgetting, but, I can,
You want to take a quick look at it?
come back to it, or I can present it next time, too. Those are just proposals for, it was actually included in the forum on a web, on a Excel spreadsheet, so it's been made aware to the entire town.
Yeah, I do feel that, I understand the purpose of the forum, but probably should have been,
Already right.
Yeah.
there's no fighting that one. All right, Pat, if you don't mind announcing yourself, it's 7:20.
Hi, Pat Jomelo at 7:20 PM.
So we just did 3.1, 2.1, do you wanna call Jane?
It's gonna take her a while to get down here.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Do you need her here for it?
what's that?
You don't really need her here for it, do you?
Well, no, but she wanted to be here at the dramatic moment if it's gonna happen.
You're not-
Well, you can surprise,
But I'll just,
you can, there ain't nothing dramatic about it. You can surprise her when you get home.
yeah. But
If you wanna try to get it, if you
no,
wanna move it through
it's-
tonight, we can
no.
move it through.
Our,
Or just
my
continue it
daughter
again.
showed up unexpectedly for supper with her grandson, so she's fine.
You don't wanna continue on up. Continue it.
No.
I'm not sure what you guys are talking about.
Oh, sorry, Pat, we're talking about, 22 Sonner Row Road, Mike and Jane Potsted's, house rebuild. Sorry.
It had been continued a couple of times and I just asked Mike if he wanted to continue it again. He said no.
They live on Damon Pond?
Yep,
No, but
No,
Vinton
or Vinton
Pond.
Pond.
Vinton Pond, wrong one.
Vinton Pond, sorry. So 2.122 Sonora Road, continuation, DEP number 308-0719, TWB 2024-197, approximately 7:15 PM. Applicant, Jane and Mike Potts said, notice of intent continued from March 26, 2025, replacement of house and foundation. With new foundation in house, work takes place within 50-foot wetland buffer and 35-foot no disturb zone. We've gone through everything. They've submitted the revised plans. We didn't really have any discussion on any special conditions. Correct, Colby? And you haven't received any?
No DEP comments.
So make a motion to approve the 35-foot no disturb waiver.
I'll second that.
Start roll call vote. I'll start and Pat will finish. James
Okay.
Gates, yes.
Kevin Smith, yes.
Pat Gemella, yes. Sorry.
No, you're good. Perfect. And then I make a motion to approve the standard order of conditions for DEP number 308 -0719 TWB 2024-197 based on the plans, the updated plans submitted to DEP from our meeting on March 26, 2025 with the additional erosion controls. Standard order conditions. Is there a second?
A second.
Roll call vote. James Gates, yes.
Kevin Smith, yes.
Pat Gemella, yes.
Then make motion to close the hearing. 422 Sonora Road, DEP number 308-0719, TWB 2024-197.
Second.
James Gates, yes.
Kevin Smith, yes.
And Pat Gemella, yes.
Well,
Thank you, Mike.
thank you.
Now you can put your conservation hat back on.
And Mike Potts abstained from the vote because he's the applicant.
Correct.
3.2, review Conservation Commission decision to support conservation restriction on Squanicook Meadows properties. It's 40 or 42 Mason Road. Mike is on the CR committee, and yes, Mike, if you want to talk about it briefly. And
Okay, well, I sort of opened up initially with I referred to it as a can of worms and expressed the idea that maybe look back at an earlier decision when the Conservation Commission had declined to take control of the land. And it was pointed out to me that for certain reasons it could be beneficial for us, and maybe we can discuss that at some point. But it was pointed out to me that that wasn't the intent of the commission, of the committee. It's not under their purview, which is true. And I will freely admit that tomorrow night at the meeting. But I will also say that I was glad that I opened the can of worms because it might initiate a discussion amongst us, maybe.
Well said.
Yeah, and then go from there.
Colby, do you mind reading the minutes and state the date and the who was on the commission at the time, just so it's read into record? If you want to come up to the table.
Yeah, you do it for December 8th, 2021.
That's when it was voted on for however it's ordered.
But I'm also going to stress that I am not opposed to the conservation restrictions at all. I think that's a good thing. And I think people got the idea that I was going to be sort of the obstructionist. So I want to make it clear that I'm not.
I think it was you were part of the majority.
Yeah.
It wasn't just you that voiced that opinion.
Right. but others who voiced it were not on the committee. I don't know. You know, I know what you're saying.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. So I just want to make it clear to them that conceptually, I'm with them, and
I think everyone is.
Yeah.
I think it's just the
Right.
CR holder that they presented to
Right.
your, or that came to light.
Yeah. Now, do you want to have a discussion while Colby does that or not?
Did you find it?
Why don't you read it?
I found a little bit, I'm not
Well,
quite sure it's what you think.
Why don't you read it in?
Well, so, yeah, no, this is it. If you
This is
don't mind reading, so it's just read into record, even though it is our minutes. The date of the meeting,
Yeah.
who was on the commission at the time, which is at the top. And then just read what the minutes are, and then we can discuss.
Sure.
Please and thank you.
All right, so this is the Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, December 8th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Jennifer Eaton was the vice chair, James Leclerc, Ann Leclerc, James Gates, were all commissioners, members. Joan Savoy was a clerk, and Jessica Consalvo was a conservation agent. Section 3.4 is the discussion about it.
What was the title?
3.4 is discuss options for future land protection of Squanicook Meadows. I'm just gonna read it verbatim. Jessica Consalvo shared a table with the Conservation Commission that compared the details of the two options. One option being a conservation restriction and the other being a deed and fee transfer. Jessica Consalvo shares her screen in the hope that the CC can go over the table together, and then the CC can share their current option with the Board of Selectmen, who have the final decision before their next meeting. James Leclerc asks to table this discussion until the next meeting. Jessica Consalvo and the Board of Selectmen liaison, Veronica Kell, reminded James Leclerc that the Board of Selectmen plans to vote on this topic at their next meeting on the 4th. And so the CC can't wait to table this discussion until their next meeting on the 12th. JS, who's JS?
Joan Savoy.
Joan Savoy is in favor of the CR and thinks it's better to let a land trust manage the property. She points out that the CC is a temporary fluid position and that the CC already has its hands full with the 30 properties they already own. The rest of the CC agree that the CR is the better option and will send this information to the Board of Selectmen. James, the word motions to submit their opinion to the Board of Selectmen. Ann Leclerc seconded, motion passes unanimously.
You, Colby, if you don't mind just sitting up, because I know you were at the last committee meeting and
I can read too, if you need.
the what?
I can read anything else too, if you need.
So. Mike, I know who the proposed CR holders, Mass Wildlife. And they haven't really had any options. I know Selena brought up other options.
Right, well, she was going to investigate to see if Nashua River, in fact, did come up with someone perhaps. That's as far as I know, but yeah. It's the Mass Wildlife is definitely involved enough that it's clear that they want it. You know, Ann Gagnon is communicated with various
What does that
people.
do? What does that do if the town wanted to put a municipal well in there? Anybody
It
looked
could
at,
be worded in the concept, or that area could be left out of the conservation restriction and.
well, what happens if that area, the specific area, when they drill a well, and that well doesn't produce the volume, clarity of water, Now, all of a sudden, they gotta come over here, and that restriction doesn't allow them to explore a different well option in a location. In a different location. I guess that would be my concern, whether they hold the conservation restriction. I guess that part of it's a moot point, but problem with that, the only problem I see is if years down the road, 50 years down the road, water is gonna be water is gonna be king here. States around the country, water is like gold. And, they just need to be careful. In my opinion, they just need to be careful how it's worded so that in the event that, we need water, say 50 years down the road, we're not gonna be cutting our own throat, you know what I'm saying?
Do we know if they've drilled test wells there?
The monitor wells.
Those monitoring
Okay,
wells
I
there.
wonder if these are them. I was up there today prowling around, and there were two pipes in the ground, and one of them
That's probably a monitoring well. Those were washed, wash wells, I think, small wash wells. Are they about a 2-inch pipe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were on top of I don't know how big a berm can be, but
Up on top of the berm?
Up on top of the berm.
Oh, on top of the slope.
Yeah.
It's always, in the plans, it's always shooting down in the flatland.
They didn't dig it back far enough.
But it brings up the question,
Just kidding.
I know, I'm trying to keep my mouth shut.
if there is a well there, what is the radius of that?
400 feet.
400 before you could use pesticides or herbicides or something? On
I
the
believe a
soccer
municipal well is 200 feet, which is a 400-foot radius,
I
basically.
think the current deed states 400.
400 from the well.
I believe so, but Colby looks like he's looking.
No, it
So-
just rings a bell. It would take me a while to look.
So-
There's different categories though.
fields. Do you know if they use pesticides, herbicides on the soccer fields? They don't,
Try not to.
okay.
Try to do it organic for them for this.
Oh, okay. Well, before I went up there, not knowing what I was going to find, I was, read about Blanding's turtles or whatever. So here's an article, scientific from journal, experimental management of nesting habitat for Blanding's turtles. And what they did is they wanted to see if they could improve success rate by how they managed it. And so it was mowing, weeding, and tilling. As it turns out, tilling is the best.
Do you know why?
I think it gets rid of the roots and it's easier for them to dig.
I don't even know how much we're supposed to talk about this, but the turtles can actually smell the fresh dirt. So if there's a construction site in a nesting habitat area, this, you have to have a barrier to protect the turtles from coming in. It's not, a lot of times, it's not about this sediment going out, it's actually from keep the critters out. So Natural Heritage has a real simple BMP's document of outlining what you just said of habitat management and restoration. They used to have grants for it too. And that's one of my concerns is if Mass Wildlife holds the CR on this, how hard are they going to make it to allow outside entities? I know Emily Fine works with a group of volunteers. I know TESA, part of the project is, my goal is for the habitat restoration side of things, to help them thrive and to keep them away from the public. But how hard is Mass Wildlife, or could they make everyone's life that, Emily and I know Jennifer Pettit, they've both given so much time to their
There's been a
property.
ton ton of hours up there.
Right, well, before I went, you know, and I've been a elementary, middle school science teacher for almost 30
100
years. Right. And so whenever I give wildflower talks in Fitchburg occasionally and garden clubs. So I'm always on the lookout. In fact, I never look up. I'm always looking down to see what's going on. And so I went there today with the idea, okay, how can this be used for education? Because if you recall, at the very end of the meeting, our charge was to come up with, well, what are some of the restrictions that we want, or what are we going to allow to happen? And someone said, well, maybe teachers could go in and do some kind of project with the kids or whatever thing. And after I climbed the berm and I walked along the berm, and I got to a couple of places where if a kid were to fall in, slip,
You end up in the river.
30 feet down and nothing's going to stop them, right into the water. I couldn't really find a place. I mean, sure, there were a couple, down below in a floodplain area, the certain wood anemone and false hellebore were coming up, and that's kind of interesting, but it's not a place where you would bring kids. So I couldn't really find an educational use for the location.
That's a good note for committee meeting. Again, I think I'll steer this back to kind of what the original discussion is of when that was voted on in 2001.
21.
Kind of, what?
21.
21. December 2021. It was kind of under the understanding that it would be a land trust and not a state entity.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the CR.
I thought the town of Townsend had a conservation land trust.
They did, and then
They
rolled
did?
it to North County, and North County doesn't have any interest in it.
Yes, I believe it was Jules Melvin that formed it.
Right, and Veronica was part of it, and
Yeah,
then they rolled it into North County, and they reached out to North County, and they have too much.
I'm working with them now to try to get them an easement.
So
Across
to
the
go
property.
back, I guess, to the original discussion in 2021 and how it was voted on and proposed, it's a different commission now. I know in your last committee meeting, CR committee meeting, it was, Veronica said it was all the same people, and it really wasn't, besides myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if Colby has input, because I know you've worked on it or thought about it and done a lot of research, and joined the meeting the CR committee meeting last time.
Yeah, I was looking at pros and cons of both, being in, having a conservation restriction with the state versus just a deed and fee to the Conservation Commission. And I don't think like what you have to say a little bit, but I think they're trying to fulfill a lot of the same objectives, just how they go about doing it. And they're not wrong in saying that, the Conservation Commission is a small body of commissioners generally, and there is turnover. But that's not to say that there isn't a lot of turnover on the state side either. And, it's a bigger agency that can offer, I don't know what, maybe some more expertise as far as wildlife, but they're not as present on that property nearly as much as the Conservation Commission can be. So
In terms of enforcement,
well, enforcement and just presence. We can't do site visits nearly as much. They can't be.
But we have
As
an agent
involved.
that can be up there every 2 weeks if we wanted to be.
because that property is really, it's mostly under the National Heritage jurisdiction. You can't breathe up on that property without getting permission for
So
good reason.
the plantings on some of those those, sandbanks,
Yeah.
that would be, you
There
have to go
wouldn't be
through,
any plantings.
you'd have to go through National Heritage for that?
Yes, in one way or another.
I think they want those kept, the way I understand is that they want those sandbanks kept as sandbanks because.
Right.
For
For the breeding,
eggs.
for the habitat, for the
Yeah.
landing turtle.
Well, honestly, I don't know, that's a question that I'm gonna have, and if, Emily has been there a lot, maybe she knows where they've actually been nesting, because when I got up to.
So we can't discuss, I'm gonna reel it in, we
Okay.
can't discuss where, but talk to Emily,
Okay,
probably privately, and there is, you can,
You can
okay,
see 'em.
okay, it just seems impossible, frankly, for them to climb up a sandbank like this.
well, they do.
They do.
How-
Then they go down the other side.
I don't know if they tumble down, but what, it's,
Okay, I'll talk to Emily.
so. Yes, cool.
No.
So keep the decision what it was from 2021. I'll say it, so it's on record. I'm adamantly opposed to relinquishing more land to the state of Massachusetts. In one form or another.
I don't think there's, I don't think there's a wrong decision either way. I just think it's the manner in which you wanna go. the
Yes, I
direction.
am not opposed, I am not opposed to the CR. That makes sense. I think that's a great way to do it, because then it's deeded properly.
And is it possible to separate those properties? I know that's a conglomeration. of
It's three parcels.
Parcel of land
I
there.
think they were talking about that.
The one in the rear is really where the wells are, and that's the largest one, 23-acre property. And up front, there's one that's 7 acres, 4 acres, and 3 acres, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, the 7 and 4 and 3, I think, are part of the athletic field, I believe.
So I know the current lease is written to just be the playing surface and the parking lot, but Taser wants everything from the edge of field to, around the parking lot to Mason Road, because we want to add a one-way entrance coming from Mason Road.
Makes sense.
Is that reasonable? Is that a possibility
I don't
to
know, so
have those under the Conservation Commission control, the smaller properties, and that larger one stay with the water district?
good question.
The way they are right now, they're all part of the water district. That's what it's termed, right? I think.
I don't know. So to reduce the risk of getting ourselves into trouble, I don't know. Pat, do you have anything you want to add to our discussion? I know you're virtual right now and it's tough to, but
No, I don't have anything to add at this time.
Thank you, Pat.
I cut you off right there. Did you want
Well, no, the question I have is, Anne seems to think that the restriction can be worded in such a way so that some things would be allowed.
okay, go on.
Some
Okay,
things.
so if that's true, then it may not be as restrictive as one might think. And just wondering if that is true, then why, and I'm not doubting you have a good reason, why would it be so bad if the state owns the restriction?
May not be. If there's conditions in there that will accommodate everything or everyone, every other entity that's involved in it.
But it sounds almost like a matter of principle because they own so much.
If that's a question,
I think it's more.
partially, I've also seen how they've restricted other properties in town to limit their usage.
Okay.
locked gates on hayfields and not communicating that, hey, there's a gate with a lock on it now. It's, you just see what the state of the other properties in town, which we have discussed, we discussed last meeting. I don't, there's no like big maintenance thing you can do at Squanicook Meadows, but
Is there a vote that needs to be taken on that?
no, there isn't. So I think we can move it along.
Mhm.
But to answer your question, in my opinion, for me,
Yeah.
I'm the only one vote. It's principle.
I can add little context to that too. So it's up to the property owner to really outline as much or as little as what activities are
Yep.
allowed.
And that's why,
Yeah, and so the Wests up there have a conservation restriction on Meadow. And it's beautiful document. It's like 20 pages long. And they go into some real depth. And then it's actually a pretty good read, but they really outline what's allowed there and whatnot. They go so as far as to describe like educational programs that are allowed. On the other hand, you can be really short and concise, and that's where some ambiguity comes in, and it can be a one-page document.
Mhm. So this is on West Meadow?
no, Meadow.
Yeah.
It's the west property,
Oh, the West property.
but
It's up to the.
Because what I did is I thought, okay, well, I could see the farmland, so I went around West Meadow and then I drove up along the field there to see how close I could get to the Squanicook. You could get fairly close and everything. So I thought, you really can't do much educational work on this side of it, seemed. I don't know, unless you got permission from, who leases that? Does Dick's lease that?
no, my father-in-law does.
Your father-in-law? A lot of people think it's Dick's, but it's not. Huh.
Dick's releases it.
Oh, releases it. Oh, I see.
So. I think we need to talk about the educational stuff though, because we have a budget for that, and we'll add it maybe the next meeting.
Okay. So I think at this point, we'll just see how the discussion goes tomorrow.
Okay.
And if I bring up that some people are afraid that if the state owns it, it would be much more restrictive than if some.
It's up to you. I've stated publicly how I feel, but I'm also open to yours. Personally, but again, it's the committee's job to outline the activities.
Right, but it's a reasonable question to ask, though, I think.
See what the proposed activities are,
Yeah, okay, got it.
and also see if there's any other interested parties in holding that CR.
Yeah,
I don't like that. Hi, Pat.
Hi, is there
Sorry.
or something tomorrow?
There is a conservation restriction committee meeting tomorrow at 7 or 6?
so,
7 for Squanicook Meadows that Mike is the representative for.
Okay, and is that at the town hall
Yes,
at 7 in the chambers there?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
I just, to not have other suitors or folders as options. That's also my other, thing is really should see if there's other people
right,
or other
Entities.
right.
And if there aren't, there aren't.
Okay,
I gotta think there's consultants too, that can provide assistance here. They can, with writing the conservation restriction to have it be what the town wants it to actually be.
Mhm.
Instead of, or, because I know there's templates, but, yeah. Okay,
That's my suggestion.
okay.
Yeah, just to finish up, I did see 4 turtles today.
Jesus Christ, you're gonna get us
Can
canceled.
I make a motion?
So, you wanna make a motion? Pat, do you have anything you would like to add?
No, okay.
Kevin's tired.
No, I gotta-
Thank you for joining us. Next meeting is May 14th and May
10
28th.
minutes ago.
Kevin, it's 7:51.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the Town of Townsend Conservation Committee meeting at 7:51.
Mike Clark said yes.
No,
One
second.
second.
Mike,
Clark said
second.
yes.
James Gates, yes.
Kevin Smith, yes.
Pat Jerome,
That's where we're going.
you're gonna leave me out, see?
Bye, Pat, thank you.
Have a good
You're
evening. all.
welcome.